Bringing your attention inward, feeling yourself on the chair, on the couch, supported, and beginning to connect with your belly. Just feeling the rise and fall of your belly with your breath. Today we're going to do what's called a vase breath, and it focuses on breathing into the area of your navel. So if you could put one hand over your navel and feel the warmth and the weight of your hand on your navel, on your belly, and let yourself breathe under the belly button, under the navel. Finding your own comfortable rhythm. Inhaling as your belly puffs out, and exhaling as your belly pulls in. And as you exhale, try not to use the muscles of your belly to push the air out. Keep those muscles really soft. This is about soft Buddha belly. And rather, you can use your pelvic floor muscles to very gently just push the air out on the exhale. And instead of exhaling all the air out, leave a little bit in there, like a little buffer. Maybe 10% of your exhale, you just leave that breath under the belly, not completely emptying. This maintains an opening, a softness in your belly. And feel your body begin to relax. Your shoulders drop. Your brain shift to the back of your head. Your jaw release. Surrender the weight of your body to gravity as the body settles. Feel how the gravity gently draws your body down, holding you, supporting you. Can you get a sense of yielding into your seat rather than perching on top of it? Feeling your whole pelvic area melt and soften. And a wave of relaxation wash down your legs, down to your feet, and feeling where your feet meet the floor. Imagine rooting down through your legs, through the soles of your feet into your earth. Feeling your face melt. Allow your whole body to be rocked and cradled by the breath. The front, the back, and the sides. Feel your rib cage expand sideways and your shoulder blades glide down your back. Feel your whole back melt like a wave of relaxation washing down from the base of the skull to the base of your spine. Allow your awareness to rest inside the breath as the breath breathes you. Letting go of any efforting and just letting that soft belly breathe itself. Feel the gentle movement of the breath like waves of the ocean. And notice the pause between the exhale and the inhale. Let yourself hang out in that pause a bit. Just linger in it. And feel its empty nature. It's a pause. Nothing's happening. And even if thoughts or thinking or sound is happening, you just rest in the emptiness of this pause. Allow everything else to recede into the background. And taking a moment to scan your body and to see if there's any part of your body that wants your attention. Perhaps it needs a little permission to let go. Maybe it needs a little more breath. And notice where in your body you feel most at ease. If you had to hang out somewhere in your body, this would be the place you'd want to be. And let yourself rest there. Breathing empty, open space into your entire body. And letting this comfortable place be like a home base. And in this comfort, this ease, feel yourself drop down a layer or two. Connecting to the part of you that isn't caught up in the world around you or your thoughts or feelings, but your true nature that's free and open, bigger than you, and yet completely you. Soft belly, soft breath, bringing a softness to your life, to your body, to your mind, to your emotions. And gradually, you're going to make the transition back to your waking awareness, but bringing with you this connection to your nature, your true nature, to your breath, to your body. And when you're ready, you can start to stretch and to open your eyes. So welcome everybody. Recently somebody asked me if it would be okay to take notes when I give a little teaching. And, I used to say, oh, don't take notes, and I've changed my mind. If you want to take notes, it's the way some people kind of mark things, remember things. So feel free to take notes. And also to self-regulate. Always remind you that as I do this next exercise, do what feels good. If there's anything that just doesn't feel right, do what you need to do. Always take care of yourself first. So today we're going to talk about emotions and the emotional body. It's a big topic and an important one. The word emotion comes from a Latin word that means to move. How appropriate. I always think of emotion, that energy has to move. And when emotion doesn't move, you get stomach aches, headaches, issues in your body, in your mind. Or emotions build up and then they can just burst, which most people don't like. And so what we're going to work on today is how can we work on moving emotions while we're engaging in life. So, I think it was you, Katia, that mentioned last time about movement and dance is such a great way to move emotion, and it is. But say you're in a meeting, you can't just get up and start dancing, much as I would like to many times. It'd make meetings more interesting. So you can use your breath and your awareness to keep things moving. So you're not holding your breath, or say you get triggered and you're just kind of gritting your teeth. So we're going to work with ways of moving emotion while you're engaged in life. And of course, you can also do it in retrospect. Looking back, you can work with an emotion. So the important part of emotions they serve like a compass. They let us know what's important in our life, what's of value. They also navigate our social systems, which can be very tricky. To read cues, understand what's going on, to be multitasking when there's many peoples and dynamics flying around. And emotions are shaped, by our experience, by our families. I often hear people say, well, in my family, we didn't experience anger. Or well, in my family, we all yelled. And so we develop these patterns and these habits just based on our conditioning. And then we also have our own genetic makeup and our inborn traits. But we're going to focus on two parts of emotion today, and one is trauma, and the other is attachment. And the reason I chose those two is because I feel like we all live in a trauma vortex right now. There's so much crap going on and volatility that none of us are immune to it. And it affects us, whether we know it consciously or not. And the best definition of trauma that I've seen is just a sense of overwhelm. Well, how many of us don't feel a sense of overwhelm in life? We have so many choices, so many things flying at us. And so we're going to look at trauma, and then we're going to look at attachment. And I'm not going to go into the theory as much as attachment is basically, how did our relational life begin? And it begins with our caretakers, right? So we get attached, from being in the womb and just feeling the vibe of the womb, what's going on with the mother when she's pregnant. What is she eating? What is she feeling? Did she go through any trauma, any loss? How's her marriage doing? How's her family doing? All those things affect the child. And then once the baby's born, then it's like, whoa. And the primary ways a baby attaches is through touch and being held, and through the connection with eyes. So those are very, very important. And, this isn't about blame the mother. There's no perfect mother or perfect situation. Life happens. I know when I was born, my mother, I think her marriage was falling apart. And so what I've noticed about my attachment issues are, I found out in my 30s that my mom left me in the hospital. and went home without me. And she did that because she said she wanted to clean the house and take care of the other kids. And most of all, it was only $5 a day. So you could see my mother was not tuned in to attachment. So I kind of knew something was wrong and I couldn't quite figure it out. So I did some deep kind of attachment and prenatal work. And what I found out through the body, not through my mind, was what I did as a baby was, I guess I was in this room with a bunch of bassinets, that's what they had, and little babies. And, I was alone. So I happened to be near a window and I could see a tree swaying in the breeze. And my eyes, again, eyes were attached, watched that tree, and I felt myself being rocked. And what blows my mind about that is how resilient we are. We find someone to parent us. And for me, I feel like my parenting was a lot about nature. And because of my family issues, I felt like I could trust nature and spirit more than I could trust people. And so I spent a lot of time kind of in my little baby meditation. My mom said I was the quietest baby she ever saw. I could entertain myself for hours. I think I was just in a zone because she wasn't around. So I had to figure out something. And then as I got older, I was out the door and in nature any moment I could. So that became my primary attachment, was nature and spirit. And then, of course, I had a family and sisters and all that. But, we attach with what's available at the moment. And we're infinitely resilient and wise that way, even as babies. So what I thought we'd do today is look at how our attachment sets up the blueprint for all our relationships, basically. And so for me, what I had to learn was, how do I trust people? And especially in intimate relationships. And before I could trust other people in intimate relationships, I was kind of glomming on to boyfriends and kind of like trying to feel loved that way through external love. And I realized this ain't working. I can't depend on an external source of love. It just wasn't going to happen in the way needed. And so it really propelled me to go inward and realize that the only love that is never ending is spiritual love, is our essence love. I love this new term I came across, essence love. I've been using unconditional. I'm kind of sick of that. So our essence is love, our beingness, our spirit, our true nature. And so to me, I had that before I had people love. And it may be reversed for many of you. It doesn't really matter how we get it or who we get it from, just that we get it, that we see that our true nature really is love. It isn't outside of us. So all of you know this, but what we're going to look at is how these blueprints have set us up in relationship. How is it for us to be vulnerable? How is it for us to trust? How is it for us to let go of control? These are all related to attachment of how safe we feel. And if we feel safe, we can let go, we can be vulnerable, we can trust life. And if we don't feel safe, we're going to be managing. We're going to be trying to kind of figure out what's the deal here? How do I exist? We kind of have to do that a bit anyway, but it's just going to be on steroids if we don't have that first attachment. I was reading this book by one of my favorite teachers named Sokni Rinpoche, and he was talking about how his grandfather was a big meditator, taught meditation. He was a lama, and he would meditate for hours. And Sokni, as a little boy, would just jump onto his lap and just feel his body and just feel that love, that peaceful energy. And that was his attachment. They didn't talk much. There wasn't much talk at all, but it was that his back to his grandfather's front, his heart. I love these baby slings where they have the baby on the heart, where you can feel, the baby can feel the heartbeat. That's that deep bonding that happens when you have parents that are available, and like Sokni's father was, my father was working a zillion hours a day, so he wasn't available. So trees became my parents. Anyway, so the other thing we're going to look at is trauma. And trauma has the effect of breaking down boundaries, breaking down our sense of safety, and kind of fragmenting our consciousness. So if you'll notice with any sort of trauma work, it's never about cognitive. It has to be body-based, or else it doesn't work. Because trauma is in the body. It affects every part of our brain. And we're going to look at the 3 parts of the brain to see how trauma affects it. I said in our little letter how we have to look at how it affects our instinctual or our reptilian brain, our limbic, our emotional brain, and our mental, because it affects all of us. I mean, for example, if, something really bad happens, say you lose a parent and you go to school, how able are you going to be able to learn? Recently, a family friend of mine, the grandson actually committed suicide. And they asked me for a book list. And I'm like, a book list? Do you think this guy's brother's going to be able to concentrate on reading? Please get him into therapy. And they did. So I was grateful for that. So let's look at the triune brain. Have any of you guys ever heard of that? The triune brain, the 3-part brain, reptilian, limbic, and neocortex? Cool. Okay, so the oldest part of the brain is the reptilian brain, and it's the back of the head, the brain stem, and it's kind of like where our body survives and all the systems are regulated. It has to do with eating, sleeping, all the systems, our lungs, our breathing, our toxins, our levels of energy, our functions of all the organs. When we're traumatized, we can go into that fight, flight, or freeze, where that part of the brain goes into a freeze mode. Freeze is the most common. People always hear fight or flight, but really, a lot of the times we can't run, we can't fight. You're in a car accident, you can't fight the car. So you go into this freeze. You'll see people with the frozen eyes, the big eyes. So it will affect how you digest food. It will affect your immune system. It will affect your endocrine system. Many autoimmune disorders are related to trauma. And a lot of people don't know that, but it's true, because we get dysregulated physically. A lot of therapy is about, are you sleeping? Are you eating? Are you pooping? It's kind of like it goes back to those basic issues of, is your body functioning well? Is it regulated? So the second part of the brain is the limbic system. And the limbic system is the seat of emotions. It's what judges what's pleasurable, what's not, what do we need to survive, what's going on in the social system, am I safe, what do I need to do, and what's important to me. And early attachment issues affects the limbic brain as well as trauma. These both, attachment and trauma, affect all parts of the brain. The brain isn't like so separated, they all work together. So the 2 parts that we're going to look at that make up the emotional system are this limbic emotional brain, which is the midbrain, and the reptilian brain, which is that regulates the body. So the other part of the brain is the cognitive, or the neocortex. And again, if our nervous system is dysregulated, and your nervous system is going to be dysregulated if your emotions are off or if your body's off. How are you going to think? Unless you just dissociate. And then you create more issues because you're not breathing, you're not acting in a whole way. And so it's like you leave parts of yourself behind. So this is all about, how do we develop this wholeness? To me, health is always about integration, body, mind, spirit. In this case, it's reptilian, limbic, and neocortex. How does our brain work on all levels? So what we're going to do today is we're going to meditate, and we're going to look at how we process emotion on each level. And when our emotional brain is kind of disconnected from our, say, our rational or thinking brain, it's going to show up in the body. Most everything shows up in the body, especially emotions. Emotions exist in the body. They're energy in the body. The good news of that is you can find them. You're going to have a symptom, you're going to have a tightness, you're going to have a speedy feeling, you're going to have a numbness. All you have to do is scan your body. And so many times what we do is we go to our head and we try to figure out the emotion. Forget about it. You know, you can't fix your emotions with your brain. Now, what you can do is you can kind of inhibit things, you can regulate things a little bit, but if you're really tweaked, your neocortex, your thinking brain isn't going to do it. It just isn't. And so I think that's why a lot of people dissociate or try to shove things down because they want to feel control and feel that their mind has control. But you pay for that. You pay for that with symptoms, gut issues, headaches. You know the drill when your body's dysregulated. Let's see what else. Chakras. All of these that we're talking about, the emotions, are in the first, second, and third chakra. Fourth, a little bit. First chakra is safety and survival. It has to do with safety, survival, money issues. How supported am I? How safe am I? When you're in trauma or you've had attachment issues, that's going to be compromised. Your sense of safety being secure is going to be compromised somewhat. Second chakra, that's kind of in the lower belly. That's sexuality, generativity, creativity, and belonging. If you have emotional issues going on, it's going to affect all those. It's going to affect relationally. And you know, relationships are kind of the main menu. Most people come to therapy for one of two reasons. One, relationships. How can they feel more connected, more loved? Two, trying to regulate their body and their emotions. Those are the main reasons I see anybody, because those are what's important to us, our health, our well-being, and the people we love and feeling loved. When we're traumatized or when we've had, whether it's through an accident, someone leaving us, or attachment, our defense mechanisms are going to take over to try to protect us. That's third chakra. We've talked about third chakra, that's ego. The third chakra is the navel, and that is ego, power, and kind of who we are in the world. So most people are pretty tight in the gut. You can see why. Now, when we get up into the heart chakra, emotions are in the heart, but that's when they flow a little freer. That's when the lower chakras meet the upper, the earth, the body, and the spirit meet. And the heart is kind of, the midpoint of it all. When our heart's open, things are usually working pretty well. Okay, does anybody have any questions or anything before we go into a working meditation to work with the three levels of how to move emotion? And it's really more kind of intrinsic and instinctual than I'm making it, but I'm giving you a little map. Anybody have any questions? Alrighty then, let's get comfortable and let's move into meditation 2. Finding that place in your body that feels comfortable and open that we talked about before. And letting yourself rest there. Just breathing. Just being. Let your body melt. Feel your breath breathing you as you surrender to your breath. Trusting to let go, to be held. Feel yourself drop a layer deeper into accessing your true nature, your spirit. And feel how your true nature has a tenderness and a loving quality. And we're going to lead with that tenderness, that softness of just deeply listening to your emotions, to the part of you that often during the din of everyday life you don't get to listen to. Let your breath find its own comfortable rhythm, like waves of the ocean. Each breath balancing the breath before it. Feel yourself held and supported by the earth beneath you, always here. And bring your awareness to your heart. Invite it to soften and open layer by layer. Breathing spaciousness into it. Letting it relax. Invite in patience. Patience with your feeling body. Patience with your ability to be with whatever experience you have, without rejecting anything. And feel the resource of your true nature, the wide view, knowing that at all times you have this one foot in your divinity, and you have everything you need. I want you to ask your body, not your mind, to bring into your consciousness a particular hurt, a situation where you felt wronged or hurt or negatively emotionally impacted. Perhaps it was a shock. The rug was pulled out from you. Or maybe it's just a place in your body that you know holds unconscious emotions. There's no story, but it's a place in your body. Or perhaps it was an ongoing feeling of being ignored or abandoned. Choose one that you can feel in your body. You can still feel its charge. You can feel its raw pain or discomfort. One foot in your true nature and the other part of your consciousness sensing into this pain in your body. Go to the edge of that pain, not into the middle of it in your body, just the edge. Give it breath. Breathe spaciousness into it. Just hang out with it, be with it. Just allowing it to be exactly as it is. And feel free to go down another layer beneath. Layer by layer, opening, softening, allowing this energy to move, to express itself however it wants to. No pressure. Imagining your energy body like a river, moving. Sometimes slowly, sometimes quickly. And you might notice a place where it just stops, where nothing's moving. And just let yourself be with that in your body. No judgment, knowing it's helping you. Notice how that energy feels. Is it tight? Is it pounding? Is it raw? And not trying to label it or figuring out, but just stay with the sensations, with the movement, or with the lack of movement. And notice how it makes you feel toward this pain or this freeze. Do you want to try to shut it down? Do you notice how part of you wants to move away from it? Or go to your head and interpret it? No judgment. Just being curious. Can you just be with the raw discomfort and be curious? Invite in the experience even closer. Invite the discomfort to amp up, to be bigger, more intense. Notice its energetic charge. Notice its tone. Its vibration. And befriend it. Let it know that you're here, holding it, giving it your love, your kindness, your attention. Notice how the pain responds from you simply being with it. And give it permission to move however it wants to move. You can even move your body a little if you like. If it feels frozen, maybe it needs warmth. Maybe it needs space. Let yourself trust your own instincts and tend to it how you would a friend who is hurt. Sense into your organs in your torso. Notice if doing this work makes you sleepy. Or does it make you feel buzzy? Now let's come just even a little closer. See if you could step into the consciousness of the pain. You are the pain. Let yourself experience its point of view. Give it permission to do whatever it wants. Or to just be. Let it play out with images or sensations or movement. And now take a step back and observe the pain. Notice if it's changed at all, the quality of the energy, the movement, its tone. And notice if this is an old pain or something new. Have you tried to defend against this pain? What would happen if you let go of your defenses and just let it completely be as you hold it? And now sense into that emotion, and we're going to ask it to reveal any beliefs that trigger this feeling or fuel this emotion. What voices accompany it? Is it the voice of, I'm not enough? Or, I'm alone. I can't trust people. I need it to be a certain way. I don't have what I need. See what beliefs keep this emotion going. It's like throwing wood on a fire. Our beliefs, our thoughts. And ask yourself, how does this belief affect you? What if you were just to flip it and believe the opposite? Try it on. How would that feel? I'm completely supported. I completely trust the universe. Whatever that belief is, try it on. What negative beliefs unconsciously still hang on, triggering this emotion, keeping it alive instead of letting it let go? Can you trust your own experience? That you don't have to rely on old beliefs. You can be in the moment, trusting your moment to moment experience. What would that be like to completely trust your own inner wisdom, your own unfolding? anything and everything having to do with you. Invite your mind to support you as you are, unconditionally, no matter what. And rest in that. Feel a sense of okayness, just a broad okayness that no matter what's going on, you have everything you need. You can let go. The universe has your back. And now, a Rumi poem. Go deeper past thoughts into the silence, past silence into the stillness, past stillness into the heart. Let love consume all that is left of you. So you can gradually start to stretch and bring yourself back. I felt like this solstice time was a very powerful time to go into those dark places inside of us, because this is the darkest time of year, and yet it's also when it shifts. And to me, that's such a great metaphor for going into the unconscious, into parts of ourselves that are uncomfortable, and bringing it into the light, welcoming them back. So if anybody would like to share anything, the floor is open.
I would just say that was tremendously powerful for me, Jane. Thank you. I'm not sure I can put it into words because it was really, really powerful. But I went to some very, very old stuff, and what I was fascinated about was I kind of immediately started getting, let it, just give it to us, just let us have it, my universal support team. And I didn't want to let them have it. And that was a revelation to me. And I was like, oh, this has been a part of me for such a long time.
Yeah.
I wouldn't feel like me if I let this go.
Yeah.
And that was fascinating. And, and I was able to release it. So it was just
Wow.
astounding. Thank you.
Yes. Yeah. That's so interesting how we hold on to these parts of ourselves and we feel they're part of us.
Yeah. Yeah.
Even though they're parts that we aren't necessarily productive.
Mm-hmm.
Well, good on you for letting it go.
Yeah. Thank you.
It's a good question of who would I be without this pain? Who would I be without this fill in the blank?
I found it interesting that when I was in a state of such relaxation, which you kind of brought us into, and plus the first meditation, that it wasn't as intense for me to go. I feel like I'm usually in a state of anxiety when I tap into that pain. And it was diluted already from just being so relaxed. So, yeah.
That's nice. Yeah. Yeah. Relaxation's kind of hard to beat, you know? One thing that kind of blows my mind is how emotions are so central to our experience, to our well-being, and how we get so little instruction on how to work with them, like in our schools and our families. It just seems like it's so hit or miss. And, I'm hoping that that changes. I don't know about people, Suze, you've been a teacher, if they're doing a better job with that. But I hope so.
Yeah, I mean, we need all hands on deck. Oh, can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
You can hear, okay. Yeah, we need all hands on deck in that department. Jane, uh, I think one of the most powerful things for me is to go way back into a place in my psyche that gets directed by my body, as we're sinking into our bodies. And it's so lovely to be able to go that route instead of the stories that we generate and the identity that gets attached to it. That doesn't really, I don't know, I mean, it seems to perpetuate trauma. We're just kind of looking for a target for our triggered nervous system. But when you go into that deeply relaxed, held, safe place that we're providing for ourselves, which is amazing to me, you can really join with your body and the wisdom that's there, and heal on a level that's much more profound than the stories we tell. That just kind of blows me away. Thank you. It was beautiful.
You're welcome.
I have something, Jane, and I'm not sure I can articulate it. I think as a couple other people have said, it's hard to put words to, but it is pretty fascinating because I have been doing some reading on attachment lately. And so when you said that, I was like, well, of course, it's Jane. She knows. But a piece I had been working on recently was a very old, I've also been reading Brené Brown's new book, Atlas of the Heart, and a regret piece came up, and I was doing some work on that. And this was something that was very, very old. I mean, like 40 years old, and a big shame piece for me. And somehow it struck me from how this, some of the things that she had talked about and given. And I started asking myself about this story. And it suddenly struck me. I'm like, I'm not even sure that I'm naming the right thing. And so I started to investigate that. And I'm still kind of working on that. But what is really hitting me tonight was, you're talking about going into the darkness and bringing this into the light. It really feels like that's a piece. That's kind of what I'm doing is, reframing and doing that in a safer, more gentle way, and being in a place where I am able to do that, because I'm not sure what the first woman's name is, but when she said, that's so old, I realized that for me, it's like, gosh, that's so old that could it possibly be that that's not even accurate? That story is not even real. So if that makes sense.
Totally.
So thank you.
Yeah. It's interesting how our stories get kind of inculcated into our story, and then we assume it's real. And then, like, I'll talk to another sister of mine and she'll be like, what? That didn't happen. I thought that happened all these years. You know? Yeah, but our body doesn't lie. Our body doesn't make up stories. Yeah.
Another thing I find slightly comforting is that as I'm in my 60s now, the pain that I carried so defiantly through even my 50s, it's fading. I don't know why. It just seems to really, I think I'm forgetting.
Is there anybody else that would like to share something before we bring it to a close? This felt very kind of intimate and deep today. And I just really appreciate and thank you all for being willing to go there and to plumb the depths. And I wish you all a beautiful solstice and holiday season, and much love to you all.